So today we're going to talk about three measurements you should be taking if you own assets. Three measurements you should be taking if you own assets. I'm a real estate investor. I buy properties oftentimes that are in distress. We fix them up and then we either rent them out or sell them. Try to help people get their first home and try to make them affordable, right? We believe that home ownership is great for everyone that has an opportunity and that there should be available product for people that need an affordable option. Generally, I'm buying properties in the South in markets where we can keep the price point affordable, sub $300,000. We're renovating them and then renting them out or selling them to homeowners. So that's what I do. Over the last few years, one of the most important measurements that we have, some of the most important measurements that we've had to focus on are what I want to talk about today. And I'm hoping that you're keeping track of these in your business because they can result in profit or they can result in huge loss. And so, what I'm really talking about is real estate. I'm really talking about real estate assets, but you could probably apply this to business assets as well. The first measurement that you should be keeping track of is your vacancy. Vacancy is when a unit is not occupied or when the unit is occupied with somebody who's not paying. We count both of those as vacancy. Vacancy means that you're not collecting any income and the expenses related to that asset are being paid for by you as the owner. That means the insurance, the taxes, the maintenance and repairs all fall to the person that is paying the mortgage or is paying the expenses. And some reasons for high vacancy often include lack of preparation for the vacancy, right? Maybe you didn't get enough notice of advertising. Maybe you're not advertising the unit correctly, of staff to be able to maintain the property or get the unit ready, right? And oftentimes I will see people that are building a business, they're excited about buying properties, but they end up getting so many properties that their vacancy rate becomes high because when a unit goes vacant, you have to repaint it oftentimes. You have to put new floors down. You have to fix the cosmetic issues sometimes that the previous tenant was okay with. When a unit goes vacant, oftentimes we are often exposed to things like theft or things like damage to the property that is not seen because someone is not living there. So you want to measure your vacancy. And the closer you can keep your vacancy to zero, the better. You're going to have turnover. The more units you have, you're going to have inconsistencies with how many people are renting. But vacancy is something you should be measuring in your real estate business. Some ways to address vacancy that will really help. Advertise units before they are empty. Make sure that you put the units out there before they're empty and always be prospecting for new clients. Always be looking for people that are qualified tenants and be looking for opportunities to place them. Encourage your tenants to follow their lease in the lease where you ask them to give you the required amount of notice because that will help you as well. Also, let your tenants know that you're going to be doing an inspection when they leave the property, and that in order for them to get a good reference for a new place, or in order for them to get their security deposit back, they need to leave the place in great condition. We have in our leases that we require the tenants to have the place professionally cleaned when they leave. Now, this does not often happen. Let's be clear. Most of the time, tenants are not leaving these places in great condition. But when they do, that drastically reduces the amount of work you have to do to the property, which is going to help you rent that property faster. I mentioned that you're not just talking about physical vacancy. We are also talking about vacancy caused when tenants that are in a property are not paying or are paying sporadically. And what you want to do is measure the vacancy, including this number, because this adds up. Oftentimes, tenants are living paycheck to paycheck. So when they get behind, they don't have other income streams or other ways to catch up or to make up for the late. This is why it's important to have very strict processes and procedures for collection. In our leases, generally, we're going to give them 5 days as a grace period. And after their fifth day, they're going to get a late fee on the sixth, which also triggers a 3 day notice. The 3 day notice asks them to leave or pay. After that third day, so this would be like calendar day 9 of the month, if they have not left or paid or otherwise set up some kind of payment arrangement with us, we file for eviction. And we have to follow that procedure to keep the vacancy rate. This is the non-paying people that are in the property. We want to keep that as low as possible. Because once you have to go to court, once you have to evict them, once they have all these charges on their account, it's going to be very difficult to ever get those funds back. I think we collect less than 1% of old funds back from delinquent tenants. So, first measurement you should be taking in your real estate business is vacancy. The second measure that we should be taking in your real estate business is rent collection, the amount of rent collected as a percentage of your expected revenue. There are all kinds of factors that will determine what you actually collect versus what you projected to collect. Part of that is vacancy. Part of that is the non-paying tenants that are occupying your units. Part of that is that you will also collect additional charges. We collect things like pet fees. We collect things like late fees. We charge 2 late fees. So even if someone schedules a payment arrangement with us that we agree to, we are still collecting a late fee for them paying late. The later in the month that they pay, the more in late charges that we collect from that tenant. This is going to affect your actual rent collection as well. So throughout the month, if not daily, you should be tracking the amount of rent that comes in. We notice that we get the largest percent of our rent between the first and the fifth of the month. This is on time rent. This is the largest percentage. We then notice that we get another good percentage of the rent between the 6th and the 10th. This is late fee rent, but these people are paying on time. The rest of the rent comes in sporadically due to the collection efforts of our team. This becomes important as to how are you sending reminders to the tenants? How often are you calling them to make sure that their rent is the priority? How often are you texting them? How often are you sending notices to make sure that they know that you're not going to let them stay for a prolonged period of time without paying the rent? You should be measuring rent collection on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis and looking for trends in this in order to determine signs of what you're dealing with. Some of the things you'll also notice when you're measuring rent collection is that there are certain months where it's easier for lots of your tenants to pay, depending on your class of tenant. Towards tax season, for example, you might notice that you get a lot of your rent early and you get a lot of people caught up with their payments, right? You might notice that during the holidays, tenants struggle a little bit more if you don't provide incentives for them to pay their rent on time. When you're measuring rent collection, that can help you make decisions in your real estate business. The last measurement that you should be tracking if you own multiple properties is your maintenance. And when we say tracking your maintenance, We're talking about both your maintenance cost and your maintenance response times. In order for you to keep your tenants, in order for you to keep as many tenants as possible, it is very important that you track your maintenance response times and that you track your maintenance costs. It's very easy for properties to become money pits where tenants are calling you constantly to fix a light bulb or to fix a sink or a toilet. And before you know it, you've spent all of the rent for that month on maintaining the unit. You want to track who you're sending out to the unit, what they're charging you, what the tenant satisfaction is on the repair, and how much maintenance a particular unit is causing you. Because if you're not making money, then the asset is not an asset, right? It's a liability. You also want to track how quickly you're getting to maintenance and repair orders. The worst way to lose a tenant is by being unresponsive to their request for repairs. Emergencies, water leaks, AC or heating issues should be repaired as promptly as possible. Our goal is generally to make these repairs within 24 to 48 hours. Things like cosmetic repairs that are requested by tenants for things that were not their misuse of the property, generally, I found that tenants will often work with you as long as you communicate an expectation. An example of a cosmetic repair might be a door that comes loose or a hinge that's falling off. I'm using those examples. As long as we tell the tenant when we will get to it or what day of the week we work on those things, generally they are going to be fine with waiting on cosmetic things. But we want to track maintenance response times, and we really want to make sure that we're responding to things in a timely fashion. Um, this is what I wanted to talk about today. I'm doing my best to try to keep pushing out this information. If I can help you in your real estate business, if you have questions or you have opportunities that you want to discuss, I answer every single email that goes to grabthemap@gmail.com. Don't just look at it, grab the map.